I welcome you in this video. The night smelled of ash and memory. In the narrow alleyways of Damascus, where jasmine once clung to the walls and laughter bounced between balconies, Farida stood at the doorway of the home her grandfather had built with his own hands. The earth trembled in the distance, not from quakes, but from war. She wore a single backpack, stitched and faded, filled not with things, but with threads of a life unraveling. Photographs, a scarf her mother wore every Eid, a cracked cassette of her father's favorite Fairuz song, and her little brother's toy car. Everything else would be left behind. Farida was 27, a teacher, a daughter, a sister, and now an immigrant. Her parents had told her to go. Her father's voice, once strong, now cracked, had said, "Your future is not buried here." Her mother had kissed her hand, pressed it to her forehead, and whispered, "Find safety. Find breath. Safety. Breath." Words that had once meant nothing, now meant everything. Farida crossed the threshold, pausing only once to touch the mezuzah-like charm that hung beside the door. Her grandmother had placed it there with a prayer of protection. "Ya Allah," she murmured, "watch over this home and her." She didn't cry, not yet. The journey began in silence. Buses packed with strangers who blinked too often to keep the tears away. Fathers who cradled children with trembling arms. Women who stared out windows, seeing ghosts of cities left behind. Farida sat beside an old man who clutched a rusted key. "This," he said, "is the key to my home. I carry it so I never forget what is mine." She said nothing, because she understood. The boat was worse, cramped, loud, the sea unkind. It swallowed the sky, hissed into ears, crept into hearts. Farida wrapped her arms around a crying child whose mother had passed out from dehydration. She told him stories, ones her own mother used to tell. Stories of magical birds and carpets that flew. Her voice steadied, even as her stomach churned. When the boat arrived on European shores, the sky was gray, the sand cold, but it was land. And for the first time in weeks, people wept in gratitude instead of fear. Farida was processed, questioned, scanned. Her name was written in block letters by strangers who couldn't pronounce it. "We'll call you Frida," one said. She didn't argue. She was given shelter, a cot, a toothbrush, a piece of bread, and silence, the kind of silence that presses on your ribs. She tried to smile when volunteers offered kindness. She helped translate for others. She taught the alphabet to children who forgot how to play. She organized songs in makeshift classrooms. Her hands stayed busy, so her heart wouldn't break. But at night, she unfolded her backpack. She ran her fingers over the scarf. She played the cassette on a borrowed player, letting Fairuz fill the cracks in her soul. She rolled the toy car across the pillow and whispered to her brother's memory, "I'm still here." Months passed, then a year. She found a job in a bakery. The owner, an old Greek woman, saw something in her eyes. "You carry many stories," she said. "Let the bread carry some, too." Farida kneaded dough, braided loaves, learned names of spices in a new tongue. She sent money back to her family, now scattered in Jordan, in Turkey, in the wind. She enrolled in a teaching course. She passed exams. She laughed once in the middle of a lesson, and the sound surprised even her. One spring morning, she stood in a classroom of immigrant children. Wide eyes, heavy hearts. She told them, "You are not broken. You are becoming." She hung a map on the wall with strings tied to cities they once called home. She let them share stories. She let them grieve. She let them hope. And she lit candles for those who never made it. Years later, she was interviewed by a journalist. "What did you bring with you when you fled?" they asked. She smiled slowly and said, "I brought the sound of my mother's voice, the smell of our kitchen, the echo of call to prayer at sunset. I brought my brother's laughter, my father's hands, my language, my faith, my fire. And what did you leave behind? She looked away. Everything and nothing. The journalist didn't understand, but the world would, because Farida's story was not hers alone. It was shared by millions, each one leaving homes built with love, walking through fire, crossing oceans, sleeping on floors, swallowing names, learning new alphabets, and still finding ways to build again, to teach, to sing, to knead bread with healing hands. Farida lit a candle every year on the day she left, not to mourn, but to remember the light that refused to die. The light that traveled oceans, the light that learned to say, I belong, even when the world said otherwise, because sometimes leaving everything behind is the beginning of carrying the whole world forward. Thank you for watching, share, and comment.